Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about overclocking your Raspberry Pi, and also if overclocking your Pi is right for you. You might be asking yourself, what is Raspberry Pi? And to be honest, that's a good question. That'll be inside my next guide. A full guide to the Raspberry Pi 0 and 4. So why to overclock your Raspberry Pi? There are many good reasons to overclock your Raspberry Pi. There's a 25% CPU performance boost that you can get pretty easily. This can be applied both on the Raspberry Pi Lite and the desktop version. It does not matter, and we'll go through the same process. One good reason to overclock your Raspberry Pi is that it's tedious, but it takes time. But you do get a major performance boost, and I deemed it worth it for me. Reasons not to overclock your Raspberry Pi. There are also some good reasons not to overclock your Raspberry Pi, like lowering its lifespan over time. Also, going through the process of overclocking may result in data loss. I will not take any liability for damages to people, homes, software or data, hardware, and all others. This also may void warranty. Let's talk about how to prevent these damages and why these damages are caused. The hardware damage is mostly caused by thermal, according to raspberrypi.org forums. The more temperature is caused by overvoltage, because the more voltage you apply, the more heat will be generated. For no overvolt than 1 overvolt, I would recommend a heatsink, and anything through 6, I would recommend a good heatsink and active cooling. And the numbers are 0.025 volt steps, and that's from raspberrypi.org's documentation. Although I noticed having a fan plugged into the Raspberry Pi's GPIO pins caused instability, so if you can, plug into an external power source. I also noticed overclocking made boot times longer, and this was also mentioned inside the forums. So what do you need? You need an SD card reader, you need a Raspberry Pi 4, you need a heatsink and a fan, another computer, and a Raspberry Pi power supply, hopefully from the Raspberry Pi Foundation. This is important because you might experience severe instability. And having one from the raspberrypi.org will guarantee you that you have the right power supply. You can also check the back and see if it has the right volt and amperage on it. But just in general, just go with the one by the raspberrypi.org Foundation for the Raspberry Pi 4. Having it plugged into a computer doesn't supply enough power, so if you're overclocking, I would just skip on that. So, how to overclock a Raspberry Pi? First, you need to back up any important data on it. Just remember 321, the 3 copies on device, 2 external and different computers, and 1 external outside a building. If those files are extremely important, why would you keep on a Raspberry Pi? Next, you need to boot into the Raspberry Pi OS. If you do not know how to do this, I made a video tutorial on how to do it.
Okay, so I'm recording this on my computer now because the audio that I recorded before kind of sucked. So here you go. So now that you're inside of the thing here, the Raspberry Pi desktop or the terminal, so what you want to do is enter your username and password, which on the Lite version is Pi and Raspberry, and the same goes for the desktop, but you don't have to enter that on the desktop. So once you enter your password on the Lite version, you should just be greeted with a terminal. If you're on the desktop version, go to the top left of your screen, click on this terminal icon. It looks like an alligator and an underscore, so click on that, and you should get something up on your screen. It says Pi at Raspberry, and then $. So I'm going to crop it in for you so you can see this a little bit better. So what you want to do is you want to do sudo nano, so you want to do sudo apt update. So what you want to do is just let that update. Should take a little bit. Okay, so then you want to do sudo apt upgrade. So this is just going to go through and update your stuff. Okay, so once you did your sudo apt update and your upgrades, you want to go and install sysbench, which is what I use to bench my systems. So you want to type sudo apt install sysbench. So I already have it installed, so it's going to give me a little bit of a different result. I'm gonna let it do its thing. Okay, there you go. So for me, it says it's already at its new version. So what you want to do is you want to go and run that test. So it would be after you have everything installed. So let's just sysbench. So yeah, it's installed. You can see that. If it said something like sysbench not found or whatever, or let's just say this. Just imagine the KGHFD or whatever, the random gibberish is sysbench. So if you saw that, then you know you can just try to reinstall it again. So what you want to do is sysbench test equals CPU, and then CPU max prime and then run. Okay, so this is it. Let me check this real quick, make sure it's all good. Yeah, so if you want to, you can go change this number out, but the numbers on the end will change, so just keep it at a standard that you'll keep and just do this. So the lower the number you get this, the lower your numbers will be, but it's not really accurate and it doesn't run for as long. So like let's say you do 50,000, that's a really long test, and if you run 4 of those, it's just doing it for a long time on all 4 cores that the Raspberry Pi has. So I like keeping it at 5,000 and running at 15,000 for my intermediate test and 30,000 for my long test, and then I'd run that 4 times to get it all on all 4 cores just to test stability. But synthetic benchmarks aren't always the greatest at giving you real life stuff, so you just make sure it's stable on your stuff. Like if you're running a Minecraft server, like inside of my last video, just make sure it's stable there, because you don't want to be playing with your friends and deal with a crash. So yeah, so let's go run this. So you're going to, I'm gonna go make sure this is still recording. Yeah, so you're just gonna let this go until it finishes. Oh, a couple more things. So if you're in desktop mode, so you want to type in watch -n to vc gen cmd measure _clock. So that's just gonna go measure the clock. So right now I'm at the defaults, which is 1500 megahertz. So yeah, this is your clock. It might be a little bit over, it might be a little bit under, it doesn't really matter. So this is measuring your clocks every 2 seconds. So I'm just gonna go and make that a little bit tiny. And I'm just gonna go and open up another window, and this won't apply to you if you're on the lite version, so because you just have the terminal on the lite version. So watch -n to vc gen cmd measure _temp. So right now I'm hovering around 40 degrees Celsius. So you want to look at these numbers here, which is for this one is 3.43 milliseconds. And that about lines up with my stuff here. Yeah, because I got 3.45 on my other test that I was doing. Yeah, so it hovered around 41C when I was doing this earlier, so like a couple months ago when I was doing this. I saw temperatures up to 41C, which is what you're seeing now. Yeah, so you want to write down the highest number that you got here, so just get on a separate piece of paper. I don't know if I already mentioned this, but on a separate piece of paper or notepad, just get another thing and then write down your averages along with, yeah, just your averages. I wrote down more stuff on mine. Okay, so one thing that I forgot to mention is that the BT stands for boot time. So just get your stopwatch out as soon as it starts. So I saw that, so as soon as you saw the Raspberry Pi thing on your screen, I just hit the stopwatch and let it start going. And then as soon as inside the desktop, I didn't do it on the lite version, so I don't have anything to say on it. So I hit the stopwatch, stopped it as soon as I got to the desktop, and then yeah. So that took me, booting normally takes about 21 seconds, but it does rise as you get more overclock. So this was mentioned inside of forums online, so just there you go. Okay, so now let's talk about how to overclock, actually to apply the overclock to your Raspberry Pi. So what you want to do is sudo, which makes you super user, and then nano, which is my favorite text editor because it's nice and easy, and // boot, which is your boot drive, and then config.txt. So when you press enter, you should see something that looks along the lines of something like this. So you just use your arrows to scroll down a little bit. Don't touch any of this other stuff, you might break your stuff. Okay, so then you want to find arm_freq equals 800. It might be a different number than 800, I'm actually not sure, since I was taking like 5 shots of this. So you want to scroll down to the right, and you want to change this to 1500. So that pretty much means it's 1500. Don't listen to the 700 megahertz default. I mean, that's not really accurate, maybe on a previous Pi, but not on the Raspberry Pi 4's. The default is 1500 megahertz. So then you want to go scroll down, use your arrows again, and you want to type in over_voltage equals 0. So this should be your defaults. So before you save and exit, you want to look over this and make sure everything looks right, because if it's not, it won't boot. So then you'll have to go to the recovery part of this video. So yeah, just be accurate the first time. Control X to save, so that's pretty much just gonna exit, and it's like, do you really want to save this? Or you can press Control C to cancel. So Control X, Y, and then enter, and now it's saved. So now when you reboot, it will be applied. So let's just pretend I rebooted, okay? So again, you want to type in sudo nano // boot /config.txt. So then press enter again. Use yours to scroll back down, and you're gonna want to up this by 50. And then, although I'm gonna go and just bring it up to 600. So now your frequency is 1600. So I'm gonna do Control X, Y, and enter, and now they'll be applied. So to reboot from the command line, you just type reboot and you'll reboot. But so you want to go and do this process. Go in here, go scroll down, and up this by 50 or 25 or 5, I don't know. So 1600, 500, X, Y, and enter, and reboot again. And then, so you'll get to a point where you crash or don't boot. Usually on the Raspberry Pi, I just notice it just doesn't boot at all. So that pretty much means the clock has gone too high, and I'm going to show you what happens and how to recover from that. So this is when you need to have your thingy mobile, your SD card to your USB, and because you're gonna have to recover it on your computer. So you're gonna go and reboot. Oh, I need to save my thing. So let's say you just want to reboot and just boot. So now I'm gonna hop over to my computer now, which is Windows, since that's probably what most of you guys use. And see you guys in a second. Okay, so now that you're inside the desktop, you want to go down and so you want to go first and plug in your SD card from your Raspberry Pi, plug it into your computer. So then you're going to want to open up your files, and okay, there we go. So I just had to switch at the USB since that one's being weird. So this should appear on your screen. If not, you can just scroll down until you find something called boot. Then you want to go scroll down and find your thing here. So you want to go find config.txt. So this is what you were editing. So if you have no +++, I would use that, but you probably just use this. It's worked for me. So you're gonna find what you edited. There's a couple things that I'm either gonna do. I'm going to lower the clock, or I'm going to up the voltage. So upping the voltage, as I said before, will create more heat and generally lower the lifespan of your Raspberry Pi. So anything through 3, 4, I mean, you can just get away with some little inky dinky heatsink and a fan. Anything above that, you have to have like some pretty good stuff, so you don't get way too much thermals, because that's not fun to have really hot stuff. I like keeping my stuff under 60 degrees Celsius. I just I don't like it going over. Pretty sure you can go all the way up to 8. I haven't gone there. I think the most I've gone is 6. So, if you want to jump all the way up to some good stuff, I would just set the overvoltage to 4 and continue rising until it crashes. Then run all of your 4-core tests on it, which is basically running the benchmark 4 times, and that does it on all 4 cores. So if you do something like htop inside the terminal, you can just see all of your processes running and your core usages. You can just go look at that, and then also open up like I said a while back ago, your stuff there, your clocks and your temperature. So yeah, I'm just gonna go and let's say this for example. So make sure you save. So now that's saved, I'm gonna go and inject this. It's currently in use. What does it mean? Oh. Okay, so just unplug it. And I'm gonna go down here and plug it into my Raspberry Pi. So you set up your defaults pretty much. You start it up and you just typed in your arm_for IQ equals 1500 and your stuff. So what are you gonna do? Okay, so you want to go open up your file explorer. Then you want to go up to go down and find boot. You want to scroll down until you find config.txt and go find this. So let's say you typed in arm_FRQ instead of FREQ. So you just want to go under here and fix that. Also make sure everything is at 1500 and 0. So I'm going to go save this and exit. Then you want to go and try again. But now, if that doesn't work, that's not a good sign. So then you want to go here and open this up again. And you just want to remove those. I'm going to go save that and exit again. And go and try that again. But now if it doesn't work, that's kind of scary. So you want to go check all of your cables. Check them from end to end, make sure they're all good. Check to make sure it's nothing with a monitor. Check to make sure it's nothing with the Raspberry Pi or anything with the cables. So if you have a case around your Raspberry Pi, open it up and smell if it smells burnt. You can smell sometimes if it burnt. At one time I actually shorted the 5-volt to ground once and I could smell it. It was not fun. But my Raspberry Pi turned out okay. But obviously not, because you could smell it. Make sure it doesn't smell bad or anything. Look for anything that can be burned. Check the power supply. Make sure the power supply is doing stuff okay. Although I don't think that would be the issue, since you could get your stuff turned on. So, like, make sure you have it plugged in and the green light turns on and the red light turns on. Unplug and replug it in like you do normally to reboot and start it up again. And yeah, there you go. If that doesn't work, just unplug everything other than like just unplug everything. Unplug your monitor, unplug your Raspberry Pi, and then plug it back in. Then unplug it again if it still doesn't work after a couple minutes. First you want to reflash it. So you're going to take out the SD card. You want to plug it into your computer. Then once it's inside your computer, you just want to go and reflash it again. So do a quick format, reflash it, and you're good to go. If that doesn't work after you reflashed it from a fresh download from the raspberrypi.org, and just try different SD card. If that doesn't work, then if that doesn't work, please contact me, since issues do happen to all of us. They've happened to me, so good luck, and you can contact me on my Discord server if you want. It's linked below. You can also contact me in the comments. Yeah, because I'd be more than happy to help you out. Okay, thank you guys for watching. If this helped you out, that's pretty great. So if it helped you out, make sure you leave a like, and if you want to see more from me, make sure you subscribe. And that's it. Thank you guys. Oh, and I also have a Discord. It's linked below. So yeah, have a great day.